Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2022, the American Express picks, bets, preview, one and done. We're going to break it all down, plus a recap of the Sony Open. Remember to smash the like button for the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network in the comment section. Give me your early lean for a winner for the American Express. Reminder, we're back to a 3-course rotation this year, cut after 54 holes, and there's probably not going to be cameras at 2 of the courses. There's definitely not ShotLink at 2 of the courses, unless they really pulled the rug out from underneath of us, and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, we fixed all this. Wouldn't count on that. What else do we have? Listeners League link is now available in the description. 2,500 spots this week. Shout out to Andy Lack. Everyone knows Andy. He won the Pat Mayo Experience last week, Open, on DraftKings. So congratulations to him. Also a big shout out to my guy Donnie Basby, who ended up winning $40K in the signature hole. He won an entry during the swing season to the $555 contest through a qualifier. Played that entry this week. No Matsuyama, still came in second. 40 grand. Congratulations, dude. And there was a couple Hideki winners out there. Seamus Power couldn't get us across the finish line. If you're looking for more notes and research, you can subscribe to the newsletter. That post is already up now. It's just more in-depth based on what I did on the research show earlier this week too. So you can find that down in the description, free to join, and just get sent to you. And that's where the bets will appear on Wednesdays as well, if you're looking for them, along with DraftKings ownership. Geoff Fienberg on the line with me. There's nothing quite like writing up Hideki as a fade, because you made a promise to yourself this year, Geoff, that you were just not going to discredit putting whatsoever. And I was like, well, he doesn't really putt well on Bermuda. He's never putted well here. If the score gets into the 20s, like minus 20s, I just don't feel like he's going to make enough putts. What does he do? Leads the field in putting. Of course, that's how it works.
Yeah, all-time career putting week for Decky. He wins in a playoff. I don't know, it was quite an impressive performance. I guess almost from some point on midway through Friday or something, he kind of started really getting it going. Saturday he was pin stalking, and I don't know, the announcers were really trying to play nice to Henley on the broadcast, Pat, but to me that was a total choke job. Like, I get he shot 5 under, so in theory, like, totally choke it. But he didn't make a single birdie on the back 9 at Waialae, and he shot 1 over for the back 9. So I don't care. You do that, you're gonna not win. You're gonna get hunted down. It's like if a team doesn't get a first down in the second half and they're up 20 points, they'll score a point. That good chance they're gonna get got. All you had to do was like find one little nugget in the whole back 9. Couldn't find one. He lost. All the credit in the world to Hideki, but Russell Henley's a guy that acknowledges he doesn't sleep well on the lead, and he got it to the back 9 up 5. So that's a whole other whirlwind, I guess. I don't know. That's sort of my takeaway. Feel bad. He had that thing for what felt like 71 holes to a certain extent.
This has happened, 3 times now in the past 6 months. It happened at Sony, it happened at Wyndham, and it happened, he was in the mix of the U.S. Open, wasn't he? Wasn't he in the final group of the U.S. Open?
Yeah, you really would have thought, like, okay, great. He fought, he's took it on the chin. Winning is hard. I don't know. I don't know. They made the bogey, that ugly on the par 3 that, puts it in the impossible bunker. It ends up being a 2-shot swing. And then from that point, it sort of just felt like it was only a matter of time before Hideki took it down. And Hideki missed a couple putts. Henley couldn't make anything. And yeah, Hideki was just magic. And, it's not going to get the love of, say, clearly it's not going to get the hype of, Bryson at Bay Hill and this. But that Hideki, like, all out, bottom pants off, like your power hitter in baseball on that 2-0 count, just sitting dead red. How he just, that drive on the original 18, not the playoff hole, he lowered it a bit on the second, and it set up that amazing approach shot. But I don't know, that was like forever Hideki. Like, I'd never seen him ramp up like that before.
I thoroughly enjoyed when the gallery stormed the 18th green on the 72nd hole. And you can just hear the announcers being like, if they stand in the bunkers, I mean, if this goes to a playoff, they have to play this hole again. It was just like, tournament organizers didn't really think that one through. I don't think that was it was an amazing shot. I mean, his putting was on all week. Which was frankly very surprising. The only time he ever really putts like this on Bermuda is in Phoenix. So, good sign for him going forward. That's now 3 wins in the past, since last year's Masters. He's now won 3 times on the PGA Tour. I think he tied KJ Choi for the most wins ever by an Asian player. And what is he, like 28 years old or something crazy like that? You just forget that he didn't win for like 4 years because the guy literally could not make a putt. Seems like he's rectified that.
Yeah, and we would always talk about this, Pat. Wow, it's scary how long I guess we have been talking. Like, used to feel like we could talk about the past of our show, and it was such a small, finite period of time. Going back longer, we always acknowledged player like Hideki. He's only 28. He probably feels like he's 34, 35 to just the blind golf fan because we met him so young. It was sort of before going to college became a thing for even some of these international players. He was such a baby when we met him that when he was like 22, he probably felt like he was 28 to some people, 25, but
this has happened a lot with a lot of the Asian golfers. Like Im is the same way. Is kind of the same way, where they're just so much younger than you actually think that they are because they've been around for so long.
Yeah. We get exposed to them quickly, and obviously we were exposed to him out of the gate. And yeah, for a guy that sort of had a hard time finding winner's circle, chasing smoke, trophy case is getting big, and he loves it. He's living life. He just loves being in Orlando. No one notices him. He does his own thing. It's probably living the dream, Decky.
Seems pretty good. As someone I didn't have any Russell Henley Mondays this week.
That had to suck.
I've been there with Henley. The biggest one was the CJ Cup one, and he got ran down by like real guys in that one. Like that was a loaded field. I think it was Xander or someone ended up. It was Patrick Cantlay who ended up running him down. Obviously, he got ran down by Hideki in this regard, but just like after a while, he's gonna win one of these tournaments after everyone completely swears him off. I feel like that's what happened to him last time when he won in Houston. Remember, Sung Kang had like an 8-stroke lead over Henley and Ricky, and then all of a sudden Henley won.
You hate to like put a label on a guy or a narrative, but we do a podcast, and sometimes you got to find lanes. It does sort of feel like now that Henley's the guy that you're going to want like 4 strokes back on Sunday where he finds his 62, because next time he's got a lead, be it 1 stroke, be it 3 stroke, he just blew 5 on a back 9. If you had a Henley ticket, they were probably paying you 97%.
Probably smart to take that cash out next time you have Russell Henley.
That happened. It was the Super Bowl that Ricky shot himself in Phoenix and held on because I got so lucky Grace put it in the water. But yeah, I was loud. Like, I don't know, I could take like 97% money right now. It's like it's Super Bowl Sunday. I'm not giving back anything. And that ended up being, you just embarrass yourself in front of other people as that unfolded.
It's now been 5 years since Henley won the Shell Houston Open. It's funny because that when we think about the past of our show, I mean, that was like 3 or 4 years in. And I remember talking very specifically about that week because he was a guy whose numbers all aligned. It was a lot like the Chappell win, I think at the same tournament the year before.
Yeah, too short. You're like, I don't want to bet Henley at this number. I don't care how bad the field was. And he was great. We all sort of came back to the mic the next week saying, maybe sometimes you got to ignore a number. And if it's 28, but you needed it to be 35. Well, I don't know. Maybe sometimes you just got to swallow it. I don't know. That one's in the bag. That one lives forever for some strange reason. Anytime we get to a bad field event and numbers are short, that one gets brought up as the comp.
I actually made out with some money this weekend thanks to my good friend Seamus Power, who went birdie to end his round and made like 180 feet worth of putts to cash himself that juicy each way. But there was a point when he opened the round. I think he made 80 feet worth of putts in the first 3 holes. He was 2 under after 3. Henley and Decky didn't move on 1. I was like, okay, here we go. He was only 2 shots back at the time. I was like, is this going to be the week? Like everything kind of rounds out for me. And then like half an hour later, it was all over for Seamus. And then he gave one back on 14, then goes birdie. So thank you, Seamus Power, for your top 3, cashing the top 5 each way. I very much appreciate that.
I was hoping I could have run to like gone deep into had to put some calls into the family to go deep into my late grandma's stash of glasses if Hao Tong pulled this off, by the way.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Those lunettes were incredible. I was vibing them. Like, they're not for me. They wouldn't work for me, but I didn't hate them on him one bit.
It was the best fashion statement since VJ's glasses in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Remember those?
I guess what...
Although I could have told you that Hao Tong wasn't going to win because I got a text from you-know-who that just said, Hao Tong's going to win. Remember I said that after like Thursday.
Interesting. I don't know. I was rooting for him. He almost got the top 10 there. He almost got the top 10 there, Pat. All right. Well, let's move on. I was going to say something, but I don't want to.
Do you have anything else from the Sony that you enjoyed? Cam Smith, miscut. Webb Simpson sneaks through on the number. Answer putted his way out of the tournament. Sung Jae gets Anderkirk, can't rally back. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it was entertaining. Cam Smith's driver is insane. Like, if that's a real thing, Pat, what this guy might do. I know he missed the cut this year. I had Leishman in the 1 and done. You come in 35th. You may as well miss the cut. Not to like knock having Leishman, but it just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't move any needle whatsoever. It's the equivalent of a miscut, I think, in the big contests.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you beat Tim and I because both of our guys missed the cut. That's always a fun way to start the year. But I went against the strategy that I gave out for 1 and done. I've already not used it week 1 because I talked myself out of Hideki, but he was the guy at the top of the board, the guy from the top 5 of odds who no one wanted a piece of, and he was obviously the pick. Like, how did I not do it? I have 4 fucking entries and I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's bad. And I guess you like we say, sometimes you'll talk yourself into a winner. Sometimes you'll talk yourself out of one. Like in many case, maybe, the putting stuff with Hideki last week, but even from the outright perspective, Pat, he was kind of that perfect player in the sense that his number was 20-1 and he was 22-1. I want to say at the Tournament of Champions. And there was, I guess, in that respect, great value on that. And I guess I'll own, well, I don't really disagree with anything I said. I wasn't really here for, how do I put this? Grayson Murray's an idiot. He's disabled.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
In many regards. But Kevin, I don't know, Kevin, go chirp at Grayson, whatever, man.
Oh, come on. No one likes Grayson Murray. Anytime you can have a chance to body bag him, you do it.
Yeah, I guess. Like Kevin because he gets it from all angles. He does. Despite it not being on Twitter from blue check marks playing on tour. This guy gets it. Even in the locker room, they make their jokes. These guys are watching. I promise you, the guys in the locker room on Sunday in the Players Lounge are giggling when Nas finishing up his round. Good or bad, they're giggling at who gets paired with him. Like it's a game. That's real life. The guy gets it from every angle. So I respect the fact in hindsight that he's like, I'll let everyone make fun of me. But whoa, stop the clock. I ain't taking shit from you. Like you're the one guy on this planet I will not take shit from. So in that, I do respect it. And I will argue in the sake that Na is probably perpetually disrespected in many regards. That being said, like the whole cafeteria is laughing at you. And Grayson is like this freaking, I mean, I'd be insulting to say like what he is. But that's like the guy you laugh. I don't know. It's like cringe factor, I guess, in some respects. But
see, I
whatever.
didn't see that at all. There's no one cringier than Grayson Murray at all. Like full stop.
Yeah.
Remember when he was
replying
he was Instagram hitting on like girls going to prom at one point.
Revolting. People are like, I made some comments like, this guy is almost something that you wouldn't say. You don't even call the Whack Packers that anymore because we've evolved with times, I guess. It's like Gary the slow adult in some respects. We don't use our old terminology, but I don't know. It just felt, I get it. You're not going to that's the one guy on planet Earth. I'll take shots from everybody. That's the one guy I'm not going to let laugh at you. And my buddy said, he's like, no, when you guys all used to laugh at me when something was funny, but I'd only snap when that guy started laughing. Like, oh, okay. I kind of get it now. You'll take it from everywhere, but not him. Unacceptable. So sure. And in the end, it's a loser moron. And in some ways, hypersensitive. But I guess, like I said, you're not letting Grayson make fun of you. Like you're just going to get the last word when Grayson's going to diss you. Fair enough.
And with Kevin, he can laugh off a ton of stuff right now because he has 4 wins in the past 5 seasons.
Oh, there's no debating any part of that. Even, I don't know. The guy played good, played fine. Killed Taylor Gooch for 3 or 4 rounds, but it's a different story.
It was one thing when, it's funny because Na is so much better than he used to be in terms of like pace of play. But remember when he had the yips and almost like had to quit golf? And then he took that chainsaw. He took that chainsaw to that tree where he shot the 16. He's like been better since.
Perpetually disrespected in many respects and should be commended for what he has overcome to get back here. Because we've seen many guys like go through it and just never return, let alone to like being card carrying members of the tour, not guys that have gone on to win like Kevin has. And you know what? This is kind of I saw it in sort of some sub chats, from, our boy Kenny Kim waving that flag, not take so much heat for being like a flashy Korean. In many respects, he says, even in his home country, even in Korea, he's not given the certain respects because he's just very flashy, likes to flaunt his life and his success. And I guess why not? I mean, the guy's a logo of himself walking in putts, right? He likes to put it out there. But if that was, someone else, we'd probably think that was, people would maybe consider that way cooler.
Yeah.
But in the Asian culture, in some respects, he takes a lot of heat from like senior Asian media because he likes to show how nice of a house he has, which is something to be proud of in America, Yeah,
that's why he plays underneath the American banner. What he should do is just like, too bad he wasn't from Thailand. He could have been like Kiradesh. And then, no one flaunts it like Kiradesh.
And make all those President's Cup teams.
100%. 100%. You'd be like the best player on those teams. Anyway, do you want to talk about the American Express?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. COVID has not been kind to a lot of things. However, it was pretty kind to this tournament last year because we got rid of the Pro-Am, we got rid of the 3-course rotation, and we got to play 3 rounds at the stadium course at PGA West, which was fantastic. But now the Pro-Am is back. We're going to see some Carlton from Fresh Prince doing the dance. Maybe Ray Romano shows up because that's like the quality of celebrity that you're getting at this Pro-Am, but now it's back to 3 courses. You have the stadium course, which is the host course, where everyone will play the final round. It's where they have the cameras. It's where they have all the shot link data from. The Nicklaus course was used last year for 1 round, and the players will play it again just once this year. It's 7,200 yards. They're all par 72s. And now La Quinta is back in the fold this time around. And the players will play each of the courses in rotation each of the 3 days. There'll be a cut of the top 65 and ties going into the final round, and then everyone will play at the stadium course. This is the site, Jeff, of where Adam Hadwin shot his 59 in. It's almost like it doesn't exist because they didn't have a camera on him until hole 17.
They had to run the handy cam over to that one. This is I don't know. I can't stand, especially in some of the DFS aspects or the 3-course rotations, the pro-ams, these are kind of some of the most annoying events on tour. And the fact that John Rahm plays and he perpetually plays great here, it seems. It's kind of an annoying first look, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not great. See, woo! Ended up running down Tony Finau, Brandon Hagge, Scotty Scheffler. Cantlay made a run and ended up coming in second, but that was with the final day 61. So Woo ends up winning. Andrew Landry has won this. Rahm has won this, like you mentioned. There doesn't really seem to be a prevalent skill set at this tournament. Like, bombers win, the shortest hitters end up winning. You make so many birdies from like inside 125 yards. There's forced layups. The stadium course is a Pete Dye course. It's just a really wonky tournament. But I mean, let's talk about the favorites, because Rahm is playing, Cantlay's playing at DraftKings Sportsbook right now. They're 5-1 and 9-1. But outside of the year that Rahm won, it's been like long shot city at this event.
Yeah. Also, we had that great win here 3 names ago when Duffner like made a save from like in a rock bed.
Yeah, he beat
he
beat Lingmerth in the playoff. That's the year that we had that's the reason that we had so much money on Danny Willett at the Masters, because Duffner won that week, and then we all bet Danny Willett because he won in Abu Dhabi, and then we just looked. He's like, oh, he's 150-1. Let's bet him.
Good times. I'm done going down memory lane here. No, you're absolutely right. And this is almost like a broader range. Like, can Fienberg adapt conversation? Does Fienberg need to adapt? If Fienberg needs to adapt, maybe this isn't the week to do it. What the hell am I talking about? I'm deathly afraid of Jon Rahm. When Tiger Woods was the absolute peak, I'm not comparing them, I wasn't really making outright golf bets. And if I was doing it for majors. I remember working with Cam, when his wife chased him with a golf club, and that sort of being, at some point a downward trajectory. But I was never really betting golf when Tiger was this figure. And I'm not saying Rahm is this figure. I'm just saying, in all our time, and maybe I'm overreacting, I didn't like fear players. I didn't give Spieth the respect he deserved, and I was a big DJ fan.
The only guy, the only guy I feared was that stretch when Day won everything. It was just like, oh, Jason Day's playing, he's gonna win.
Yeah, okay, and he had that 5-win season. It included a major, I believe, and that was incredible. And you're right, and maybe there is no reason to fear Rahm. I just look at how Cam Smith needed his absolute ceiling, and on a comfort course where it seemed like, if by reports he'd been hanging out there for a couple weeks or something in advance, like total perfect setup for Cam Smith, and he outdueled Rahm. I'm not taking anything away. Rahm, it felt like it took 2.5 days to really get it moving, and acknowledge he hadn't really touched the club since October. He could just be warming up. That being said, if I'm afraid of Rahm, this shouldn't maybe be the event, because Rahm's skill is neutralized here, and we have a history of really nice above the mid-tier and super long caching. So I'm in this like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Maybe I absolutely need to do each ways. Different markets, Pat. Like Top American maybe is something I should look at to like weasel numbers on guys. Like, I don't know. I'm just in this and I'm a forever just outright kind of guy here. But I'm telling you, I having all these thoughts about moving into a different lane.
I can see it. If you're not willing to lose money every time Jon Rahm wins, then I don't know what you're doing golf betting, because you're probably not betting someone 5-1 or even Cantlay at 9-1 to win a tournament. Just some weeks, Rahm, the best player in the world, or Cantlay, one of the 4 best players in the world, are just going to win, and you're going to have to eat it and move on to the next week. That's the way that I'm going to end up approaching this. I probably... but the one good thing about
you play each ways.
I do play each ways. That's true. But I do think that both of them being here, I mean, the good outweighs the bad when it comes to longer guys in the market, because these two guys are here. It's pushing everyone else down. You're getting better numbers on everyone. Not so much at DraftKings Sportsbook. This has now become the second week in a row that all the opening odds at DraftKings Sportsbook are relatively unbettable, but wait 8 hours and then they'll adjust. It feels like they really don't want to get taken by the first responders to golf odds right now.
Yeah, I guess that does seem to be the case at DraftKings. And listen, Rahm won one time last year, right?
Yeah.
He won one time. So it's maybe more so like what I'm worried about could happen, but I don't know. I don't like to, how do you put it? I like to sort of stick to what I do because I feel like when I pivot week to week, that like leads to variance that I don't like. Either like I'm all in on outrights and I don't do each ways, and when I miss each ways, I make it all back when I get full payout on my outrights, and I've always proven to myself that I will hit I will hit a quota that will make me money and make me happy and make me entertained. Like I've never, like, knock on wood, but I've never not, since we've done this show, I've never not found my quota. So people are like, why change? Like, why change anything? I don't know. This guy just gives me a vibe like that he's about to train it all.
Good happen.
I'm not betting him. I'm no interest in stepping in front of John Rahm at 5-1. Although you could make the case that his Masters number at 8-1 versus this at 5-1 represents value. Like you could, or plus 650 this week, 8-1 to win a Masters. You could argue to yourself that's value in some respects too. Not betting it, but I don't know. I'm looking for different markets and different things to lose money on Luke List.
On Luke List, yeah. Well, this kind of goes back to what I was saying about Hideki. Like, I started to incorporate more putting into what I wanted to do, and I think the fatal mistake that I made when I'm trying to, like, retroactively think about what happened is maybe stay away from the Luke List can't putt type guy, because the elite ball striking is never really there. Like, it is there sometimes, but the putting never comes along with it, where Decky could win a tournament by losing strokes putting from time to time because he is such a consistently good ball striker, where List isn't. Like, Connors is kind of going to fall into that. Like, I feel like Connors is going to win this year somewhere. He's going to ride a hot putter. Just the ball striking is just too good.
And I hope it's I plan on losing a lot of money on Corey Connors, but I say that going into every year, and then it's like, oh, but he's 20. He's going to be in the 20s a lot. So it's like, God, do I want to bet him? Maybe I just watch the win, but
well, he's in that range right now. So we'll talk about the entire favorites. I do want to let everyone know the DP World Tour is back, formerly the European Tour, in Abu Dhabi this week. Sky and Tom will be back with the DP World Tour Picks and Bet Show. They're actually going to go live on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Mayo Media Network to break down the tournament, make their bets, and they're going to be taking questions from you guys. Frankly, that's probably a more interesting tournament this week. It has Morikawa, Hovland, Rory. Like, this is always one of the premier, like, Middle East swing events. It's the one that kicks off the Euro season. So highly recommend that you tune into that. It'll also be available on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, the Mix audio podcast feed when it's done. And there is everyday Australian Open tennis bets up on Mayo Media Network and that podcast feed too, from our guy John Reed, who crushed the Grand Slams last year. So I highly recommend you checking all that out. Full range of favorites. So you got Rahm, you got Cantlay at DraftKings Sportsbook 5 and 9. Then it's Scheffler at 16, Sungjae at 18, Gooch and Finau at 20, Connors at 22, Answer at 25, Seamus Power at 28, and the Wolfman, Matthew Wolf. Maybe I should bet him. It's my son Wolf's 3rd birthday today, so I should probably get on the Wolf train here. This was the site of all of his problems last year, where it all began. He's now 28-1 in this field, and that's everyone below 30-1. Now, if you do site shop a little bit, you can find significantly better numbers, Scheffler down, basically. Like, the only one that's better here than anywhere else is Answer. I'm seeing Answer 22 at most places. He's 25 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Where's our super long? 27 at another place if you really wanted it. So I think that the DraftKings Sportsbook odds will adjust at the top end over the course, like I said, of the next 8 to 24 hours. Once guys are not betting these numbers, they'll drop everyone else down to reflect an easier betting market. But Answer was still the one that really stuck out to me. Answer and Im, actually. I know that Sungjae, he was Andrew cursed last week. What do you want to do? He actually made a run at the cut line, and Answer just couldn't make a putt to save his life. But when I went through the research show, clicked on the Pete Dye tabs and everything like that, you always have to remember who's number one. It's Abraham Answer.
Yeah, and sometimes I get caught doing this, but I'm like, everyone's going to be on. When you made him your one and done last week, at least the purposes of the game that we're going to play head to head, I was like, I like it, because everyone's going to be all over him next week, and he's ready to pop, and you're going to pop him a week early. I bet him he didn't win, but in the terms of outright markets, It's just a loser. It's as good as my Jason Kokrak outright bet or any of my bets that flirted with winning. They all got $0 for me in that respect. So answer's certainly going to pop. You're not really getting a break on any of the pricing. I would be concerned. Scheffler of those guys, Pat, he's the only one we're seeing for the first time, being a non-champion.
Wolf as well.
Wolf as well. And Scheffler, as you mentioned, he was third place, but my memory's a blur. Would have been a football playoff weekend. Was that like a contending third place or a fly up the leaderboard sort of Sunday third place? Not that it matters, but I'd like to know.
I believe that was not necessarily a fly up the board. I can tell you right now, because the final group was Siwoo, Finau, and Wawrinski last year. And Siwoo ended up holding off. Cantlay was the one who made the big charge from the back of the pack. Let's see here. Scheffler was Iron Chef. Where was Scheffler? No, Scheffler missed the cut here last year. So I had that wrong.
So it would have been the year before then?
I guess so. Yeah, he was third in 2020.
Okay, my bad.
Answer was second that year, and Answer was the one who made the big Sunday push to come in second that year, but he wasn't really in the mix. So yeah, Scheffler shot a 70 in the final round. Landry won shooting a 67, so I think he was in the final group.
I am not in a rush to make a bet in this range, but historically I do like to bet, some of these guys in that 20 to kind of 35 to 1 range. I'm not ready to make a decision. I'm more excited about some of the guys north of 50, at least that have gotten my first bets of the week.
Well, per fantasynational.com, fantasynational.com/Mayo, to get yourself that 20% discount, run your own numbers. Looking at everything right now, like everything's kind of pointing to Answer, even when you look back at last week. Like he gained off the tee, gained on approach, he gained around the green, lost 2.5 strokes putting in 2 rounds. Like he sucked on the greens. That's 2 weeks in a row he sucked on the greens, but in the course of his career, he's actually a pretty good putter. So you think eventually that flips back for him at least 2 rounds at a Pete Dye course. That we overlooked Siwoo in this spot last year just based off his Dye performances and how well he played at sort of like the corollary courses, and didn't turn out well for me. When I didn't bet, the one time all year I didn't bet Siwoo, he won. Fun times.
That's pretty hard to swallow there, Pat. Amazing. It seemed like the mean substitute teacher setting the number at DraftKings. Taylor Gooch 20 to 1.
That feels that has to drop, because who is betting Taylor Gooch at 20 to 1?
Even if you like him, I mean, that's the same number as him and Finau and just the other guys.
He does, looking back at the course history in terms of total strokes gained over the past 5 years, Gooch is 5th amongst all players in the field.
Yes, not surprised to hear that. But now it's like to bet Taylor Gooch. I'm a big Taylor Gooch. I bet him last week. But now when you bet Taylor Gooch, you have to make that decision of Sam Burns would probably be a more extreme example of this. It's like their numbers are now right beside these. Geez, I can't call Finau a proven commodity. But.
No, but he's someone that we've seen top 5 in majors and things like that. And Finau's done it for 5 years.
When you want to now pull the trigger on that player, you're literally staring at players at the identical price that in some respects carry significant weight, in my opinion, to pass on. Not necessarily this tournament in general, but just imagine the next time we see Sam Burns again, the player who will have the on-par number with him. They'd be like, whoa. Good for Sam Burns.
I'm going to guess that's next week. And I believe he's playing Farmers. Didn't he make a run at Farmers last year? Like, wasn't this the beginning of his heater?
Yeah, I think he went out in the final group on Sunday, and then he followed that up with like a first round lead in Phoenix. So
and then he was in the final group at Riviera too.
Yeah, he might not have been in the final group at Torrey if he was in the final group at Riv, but yeah, he definitely had a hot little run here.
So no, let's see, where's the number? I have it written down so I wouldn't forget it. 12 of the past 13 winners have played at least one of the 2 Hawaii events to kick off their season. So like, would that make someone who hadn't played an immediate cross off, or that's just all noise to you?
It's not total noise. I mean, I would say the fact that it came down to Henley versus Hideki, it essentially will again make every trend go right back to that for Wiley next year. So no, I mean those are normally good players in some respects. It's not a be all and end all for me. It might make it harder to make that first decision on Scheffler, like versus M or versus Finau or even versus Connors. And I'm very bullish on Scheffler. I drafted him in the second round of our draft, but something I do in a fantasy draft isn't going to affect how I make an outright bet on 20-1. I promise you that. But that could be something to decide if you have to make a move on M or Scheffler. I assume for you it'd be M.
It would be. And I think Im's in a nice spot here. I think we'll see his number get crushed a little bit as the week goes along in a good way for us. Like he's probably a better bet Wednesday than he would be on a Monday. Coming off the Anderkirch, you cannot underrate that whatsoever. We've seen that be a very good spot for a lot of players. And he only really played poorly on Thursday. He played fine on Friday. He kind of got it back together.
And I suffer from being... Yeah, I don't know. He was Anderkirch. I don't want to overrate it. Sungjae Im's the type of player like I don't know. If he has a floor week and I wasn't a part of it, it doesn't even register with me. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like I missed it. It almost means the next week could even be more of a green light situation. I'm just, sometimes I struggle with it's one of the part, like now that we're 1 week essentially into a full field event and 2 weeks into doing the show, Pat, I don't want to get myself caught in being like, oh, I bet Connors and Answer last week, and there's reason to really like them both this week and just sort of blindly sticking to that. But I guess under 30-1, those would be the guys I do like.
Yeah, Answer is the one who still sticks out to me here. I probably won't go back to Seamus Power. A lot of that was putting.
We can get
last week.
A book we use has a 33 on Answer.
Yes, I'm staring at it right now. But we're talking about DraftKings Sportsbook, Geoff.
Yes, and they'll raise with the tide. What's it? Something all boats rise with the tide. Hopefully,
all tides raise all boats.
I don't know.
Are you a nautical man?
No, I'm not a nautical man. I'm buried in winter.
Yeah,
I wish I was a nautical man.
I saw the pictures of what's going on where I formerly lived, where you live right now. Does not look great.
I've lived here my whole life. Like, it's Canada. For us to be now, listen, we had a mayor once calling the National Guard because we got some snow. And we've been embarrassed in the city I live in for that for a long time. But I've never seen this place like shut down like it has been today. There are starting to be signs of life, but it is up to my midsection when I opened the door today. So a hurricane of snow came through here last night.
Let's go to this mid-range. And we've already talked about Russell Henley a little bit, but this is a good course for him. He's 35-1. Like, we've seen this happen a bunch of times where a guy comes in second, and it's usually a good player who ends up doing it. Like, he comes in second, then goes and wins the next week. But, like, how do you properly gauge Henley here? 35-1? I mean, it's a pretty good number for this type of course, isn't it? It's a better number than we got last week.
And for all the, shots, or not shots, but the comments on the DraftKings numbers, this one is very strong, it seems like, on a Monday morning. And as somebody who wasn't scorned by Henley last week, I'm actually attracted to this. Like, I don't feel any of the scar tissue. To me, it's a player on a course fit who's playing well. I didn't get burned by what happened last week, so I have confidence in Henley at the moment. I like that for sure. As we cross 30, that's one of that's a bet I take notice on. I don't really bet him a ton, hasn't really cost me since we record, but Yeah, I don't really remember ever betting him, so I don't know that I would get there. But 35-1, I like it.
So Reed and Henley are both 35, and then we have Cameron Tringali 45-1 right now. Will Zalatoris making his season debut is just randomly 50-1. I thought he'd be a lot higher. Rose is 55, Seabez and your boy Little Ricky. They're both 60-1. Ricky hasn't played yet this season either. Neither has Rose. Hadwin hasn't played, but this used to be his jam, 65-1. List hasn't played. He's 65-1. Paul theorized that the DraftKings Sportsbook odds makers are giving List and Si Woo the Mayo bump just by making them 65-1 each. Then you got like other guys like Ortiz is playing for the first time in 2022. He's 80-1. First time we're seeing Varner. He is 90-1. Taylor Moore in Vegas. So we haven't seen Vegas or Noren play yet. Like they're all they're not kind of in this range. They all are in this range. There's a couple guys that I don't see a huge differentiation between a lot of these guys and guys that are 100-1 plus, to be perfectly honest with you.
In some respects, there's a few here that caught my eye, like out of the gate. There was a 65 on Willie Z out of the gate on DraftKings this morning that I saw a few guys take advantage of. I think Bezenhout at 60 is a nice.
That's my bet. My bet is Bezuidenhout 60-1.
Yeah, that I totally get behind that. That's one that stuck out to me out of the gate as a guy whose game I think plops around here quite perfectly. Just gonna list off some names, but as I said off the top, I woke up this morning thinking, "Oh, it's a ROM week. Oh, gotta do this, and what am I gonna do?" And then I look at an odds board, and there's just guys over 50-1 that, oh my god, I like. So Willie, Bezuidenhout, Carlos Ortiz. You mentioned the first start, but 80-1 on like how you see the winners get around this place does it for me. Noren 65. Know I'm a bit of a sucker for Noren, and he's got that. Oh no, that's Wallace. I was gonna make fun of Noren's putting grip. It's Wallace who does the two thumbs attached, which is so messed up to me. But Noren's a guy, Pat. Remember we used to label him as a
the hard course
guy.
But
and
now
over the last
but now
year,
but he's been like straight up bad for 3 months. Like he was horrible in the swing season everywhere.
Well, that sucks to hear because a lot of those courses, those like birdie fest situations, he was having great little runs in. Maybe I'm being biased in that, but I'm obviously keen on Noren, and Luke List I would shop. I'm a sucker for that. And Si Woo at 65, I could argue some serious disrespect.
Yeah, that is massive disrespect for old Si Woo. And the only reason you bet Si Woo every single week, which I will be doing this week, obviously, I don't want to miss out again at a Pete Dye course where he's already won. But just you're going to know whether he has it or he doesn't within like 10 minutes.
So I just listed a bunch of names. I was like, oh, Rom, I don't want to bet like I got to bet guys that have to chase Rom, and now I'm excited about some guys, which is pathetic to say. And you even said someone else who I think this place could set up perfectly for, although I'm never on the right side, ever. And you'd argue, is he ever on the right side? So obviously you pick Harold Varner, you're going to be on the wrong side because he's on the wrong side all the time, most of the time. But I go to these course fits for Varner, and I always get sucked in.
Charlie Hoffman has withdrawn he withdrew from this tournament, so he is out right now. The one that I was looking at, and I randomly stumbled across this, and this could be complete noise when it comes down to it, but I was looking at Andrew Landry, and where Andrew Landry has played well over the years. Heritage, he's played pretty well. Valero at TPC, the Oaks course in San Antonio, he's played really well. So I went and looked at the past 5 years from the Oaks course at TPC San Antonio, and then all of a sudden I start to see random guys pop up, like Connors is the best player. That's where Connors got his win. Hoffman, who's won this event before, obviously not in the field now. Lucas Glover, Ryan Moore, Snedeker, Si Woo, Camilo Villegas, Streelman, Andrew Landry, Chris Kirk, Patton Kazire, KH Lee, Ricky Fowler, all guys that have been like kind of around on these leaderboards. Not the elite of the elite, but the elite of the elite don't go play at the Valero Texas Open at the same time. So there's been a lot of guys who have done well at Valero for I don't know, reasons, I suppose. Maybe, it's a drier type course. Obviously, that one's in Texas. This one's in California. They're both Bermuda greens. Maybe they're like a similar style of like overseeded rye Bermuda greens. I don't know. I just thought it was really strange to look at both of them and be like, there's a lot of similar names on both these lists here.
That's a comp I never would have even considered, to be perfectly honest.
And it could be absolutely nothing. Like, the courses don't seem to have anything in common with each other besides names that have played well at both courses. You're really looking at it there, are you?
Yeah, I'm just staring at the numbers. DraftKings actually doing some nicer things as we start to flirt with 100, Pat.
Yeah, once you start getting down the board, they have longer odds on a lot of guys than most other places. Just the top of the board. They just don't want to get taken by the big guys. So I found that kind of strange. For me, Tringali is actually a look here. I don't know why. You can find him as deep as 55-1 in some spots. I haven't pulled the trigger on it. I have pulled the trigger on Bezaden Hout at 60-1. He is my only bet inside of 100-1 to start this week. So that's where I'm at with him. And I even went and looked. He had lost strokes off the tee in 12 of 13 tournaments. Gained a bunch last week. Wouldn't expect that to be like a new thing for him. But this is a course where you can attack it so many different ways, is that he can hit it short off the tee. As long as he's hitting fairways, his irons and putting should be good enough to overcome that. And he can be that skill set type of player. Like how we've seen like Brian Gay, Bill Haas, Mark Wilson. They've all won this event before.
Duffner,
yeah, exactly.
That totally makes sense. He fits that profile perfectly in some respects. He plays well. He starts waving annoying on the weekend, but 50-1 wouldn't be a bad place to start your card. There's a couple guys just in front. I don't mean to go before we cross 100. I want to just
talk
go
about
lower
Patrick Reed.
again.
We should talk about Patrick Reed, right?
Well, that's who I was, one of two players I was going to bring up. Just sort of looking at it on the Fantasy National, there's some key like deep red for Patrick Reed, which could be concerning, but I am still bullish, which is so silly that he's going to pull something early in the season. He's just going to go from like statistically horrible to amazing for 4 days, because that's Patrick Reed.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't think there are certain players where numbers, it'd be like Bubba Watson. Like, if you just went by pure metrics, would you ever have bet Bubba Watson to win anything in his career? No. But we know the upside of like, it's even like Siwoo, Bubba, Patrick Reed. Like, they win enough that it's like, yeah, if they can put it in a bottle for a tournament, they can win. And we've seen them do it multiple times.
Yeah. We used to see Keimer do that a lot also. Just the regular Rotash.
Is he playing over in Abu Dhabi? Because he's got baby swag on his side. They just had their first kid.
Yeah, I saw that he had his first kid. So congrats to him. I doubt that he's playing, but I have no idea. I've made a bet in that tournament, by the way.
Was it Tommy Fleetwood?
No.
Really? Wow. Okay. You're blowing my mind.
I'm well, Fleetwood's a little lower for me to make a first bet. It's probably like 20 or 22-1. I bet Adam Scott 50-1.
That's a pretty big number. He has the same odds as EVR, who just played in Hawaii.
And I can't say what I made this joke last week about all these people who all did their write-ups as like Mav McNeely, huge year coming. It's like you make a prediction on a guy, and you get to the first event and you're like, oh, I think I need to play him because I picked him to win something big. I joke how I'll make a World Series baseball bet that it's opening day of 162. It's like, well, I picked them to win the World Series. I think I need to pick them to win this game today, to start the year. But I'm going to do that with Adam Scott. I'm so high on what he's going to do this year as like sort of that older veteran, going to flip a switch and get back some of that old life. So I feel totally obligated at that field to bet him at 50-1. Seamus Power, though, Pat, even in the 30s, you can make a case that it could be a very fair bet for him. Would this course, not this setup, this La Quinta trifecta setup, suit him absolutely perfect while he's playing fantastic. I know in your article last week you mentioned we would have like 16 top 20s in his last like 25 starts or something.
Yeah,
It's
I mean
incredible.
that's why I bet him last week when the number opened at 50. I was like, I'm in. This is a perfect course for him. 50 is it's a number I'm more comfortable with, not so much 30 on Seamus Power. When now you're putting him up against guys that I just think that are better than Seamus Power, and maybe he's the guy that I don't want to miss the boat on either. Like, would you rather bet Reed at 35 or Seamus Power at 30?
Well, see, that goes right back to the conversation I had earlier about now it's like you get caught with players you like Gooch, like Sam Burns, as we'll experience all year. It's like now you're in this spot where you're making the decision to bet you like a lot more polarizing because I have to pass on, player X, but everything just pops incredibly for Seamus. It's like hyper green, whatever color you call the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see what the DraftKings pricing is going to be on him. Maybe that's where I'll choose to attack him and go over. I do like him this week, but I don't necessarily love those odds based on what I want to do. Do you have any feel for like Rose or Ricky or any of those guys?
Yes and no. I mean, you don't have to twist my arm.
Are you going to bet Ricky?
I haven't bet him yet, but I see some numbers peaking around 60, 66. It's not horrible. Could work. I'm more into Ricky than Rose, but that's just personal bias. That's like going to the ice cream shop. You pick what you like, okay?
Yeah, I think if you're going to target that type of player, there are better options down the board. Like, hell, Jason Day,
higher odds.
Jason Day is playing in this tournament. Not that I really want much to do with Jason Day, but I don't see why you'd bet Rose at 55 when Day is hanging like 110 or something.
Yeah, I've seen Day as high as 130. It had my attention. Him and who would it have been? Him and Leishman at the team event. He looked a little laboring, but I don't know. I could get behind Jason Day above 100. And I think that's a fair point. You don't have to go as high as 130, but you could probably find players that might do just as much at 100 than you are Ricky and Rose and 55 to 1-ish.
So
Woodland.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. Seabez at 60 is the only one that I have in right now. Play that with the each way. Make sure I get that top 5, because if I didn't play the each way last week, I wouldn't have won any money last week. So each way's helping out just a little bit. Long shots for the week. I got a few to kick these off. You mentioned Woodland. You stole my thunder. Yes, I'm betting Gary Woodland. I got him at 100 to 1 with the top 5 each way. Currently at DraftKings, he is 100 to 1 as well. So I get that he hasn't played yet this year. That's not great for him, but he even looked pretty good at this tournament a year ago. And now he's healthy for the first time in ages. I think it's going to be a nice Gary Woodland rebound year. We talked about this on our season preview, that they're going to hang numbers on Gary until that he can show that he's back to being, a top 30, top 25 player in the world. And we're going to try to reap the rewards right away. I have no idea where his form is at, whether he's going to be good or bad, but this number's too long. 100 to 1.
I'm very pro Gary, and I'll be betting him at 100 to 1. And you sort of called it, like in making your prediction, it wasn't about winning a major. It was about catching him at a weak field at 80, 100 to 1.
I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't bet this number after saying that.
But this also goes to the thing I said earlier that I joked at myself about. We're still at that part of the year where you made these preseason predictions on guys, and do you have to like say they're going to win the first events or bet on them? It's something I'm not mentally strong enough not to. Some people might be.
Well, I think it's a little bit different than your example about like picking the Padres to win the World Series and betting them on opening day. We only get so many chances to bet these guys, and if you do hit them once, it's well worth it.
That's very true. And I remember we talked about it it was years ago. The Colts were like the hottest thing, right? Every year Andrew Luck went like a step further,
and they lost.
And it was their time. But it was week 1 versus the Bills.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In Buffalo. And I was like, I bet Colts to win the Super Bowl. We got to bet them week 1. And we were like, no, yada, yada, no, you don't. And the Bills won. And now I'm just making stupid anecdotes. So let's get out of stupid anecdotes and talk about triple digit guys that can win, because like you, I'm staring at a few as well.
So Woodland 100-1 with the top 5 each way. I saw my guy Chesko, he's back. Why not? 175 to 1. Played that with the top 5 each way. And I'll take I didn't want to fall into the Lucas Glover trap after last week. He led everyone in approach at the Sony Open. That's probably not going to repeat itself, but it's nice to see that his irons are clicking. He's played the first 2 events of the season, improved mightily from the Tournament of Champions to the Sony Open. When I looked at the crossover at the Oaks course at TPC San Antonio, he kept popping up there as well. Tends to play Pete Dye courses really well. Couldn't drain a putt. I mean, he was like even for the week, like dead even, middle of the field, gained 9 strokes on approach. I thought he was going to be priced at like 60 to 1, 65 to 1. I was like, I'm not going to step into that trap. But I saw him at 150 to 1. I was like, all right, yeah, let's go. 150 to 1 with the top 5 each way. Lucas Glover, let's have it.
Number 1 in approach last week. I'm trying to find
number 1 in approach last week.
Yeah, it's pretty good, Pat. I would
but I mean, that's probably his ceiling, right? So now it comes down from there.
Yeah, but 150 to 1.
That's the thing.
Get each way in. I don't know. See, that's even the type of corny thing where like I don't know. Now in my afraid of Rom world, like I'm gonna wait a day to see what these top American markets are. But that seems quite attractive for Glover, even if you weren't going to want to get on him. I had Molinari circled. He lives out, like he's a California guy right now, and he seemed to have shown up in like last year in some of these no-cal courses, been at his most comfortable. Yeah, so I'm very into Molinari for this little startup event for him.
Let's see. This was like his best run last year. He was 8th at this tournament, 10th at the Farmers. He was 59th at Pebble Beach, then 8th at the Genesis. And then he was god-awful the rest of the season. He was T13 at the U.S. Open somehow, but that was basically it for him.
That's weird. But yeah, no, California, all through California, especially if we get some nice signs. He's even acknowledged it. He likes it out there. He moved out there with his family. Doesn't practice a ton. He's like enjoying the life of being a champion golfer. He enjoyed what he got, but hopefully missing a Ryder Cup. Let's start it up again, Frankie. So yeah, 150. That's freaking. You said 175 even?
Yeah, 175.
That's pretty good. Any love? I got on the wagon last week, the Tom Hoagie approach wagon. That kind of didn't work out, but you bring those approach stats to La Quinta, mix with a little putt luck, 130 to 1.
He's played well here too.
So that is one that I don't mind a bit. Phil's playing. We didn't talk about Phil.
Yeah, Phil's 100 to 1. 200 to
1. Lost to Adam Long.
And Hadwin and Phil got outdueled by Adam Long, which Cuss never ceases to bring up somehow. Although he claimed that Long had no chance in that round.
The funny thing about Cust is like he'll watch in the doses of like the end of Sunday and see this Adam Long, and I have no idea. And watch Adam Long literally, like he'll watch Adam Long play the best 2 hours of golf in Adam Long's life. And then he'll tell us that Adam Long is going to be this preeminent force in golf now. Like that's how Cust works.
Like when
Mike White.
Mike White or Keith Mitchell, when he found out who Keith Mitchell was when he won the Honda.
Adam Long is his Mike White of golf, except, the guy gets a flash the first time you see him. You don't realize, no, that's literally the best he's ever performed in his life. There's only serious regression coming. I like the DraftKings giving you 100 to 1 on Chris Kirk because he's not getting that anywhere else, I tell you.
This feels like a very Chris Kirky course, doesn't it? Go make some birdies, Chris.
This was also part of where he was playing that great little run of great golf last year. He had that second or third place at Waialae, and he carried it over to a performance this week. He got, he hit a wall, I think, late on Saturday this week, but I imagine. Oh, let me look at the numbers.
Yeah, he was T20.
They're always the same, I'm sure, with Chris Kirk.
Yeah,
not
he
to
was
besmirch
he was
him, but
he was T27 last week, I think it was, but he was 16th in this tournament last year. He has a 21st. He has a 7th in his career. He plays this tournament a lot. Even when he like lost his status, he would still come to this tournament. There's 156 players. A lot of people get into this tournament.
yeah. But that's DraftKings has a triple digits on him that I'm not seeing elsewhere, which I
Okay.
do not mind.
Yeah, Lucas Glover led the field by he was first in approach. Henley was second. Glover beat him by 3 strokes on approach. That's crazy. Who are some other guys who were up there? Armour, Stanley, Svensson, Dylon, Bramlett, Kadira, Justin Lower, who only played well with his irons and sucked everywhere else. Grayson Sigg. Oh, Grayson Sigg. Here we go. Now we're talking. Nate Lashley gained 3 strokes on approach despite missing the cut. He lost over 3 strokes putting for the week. So he was sort of like he and I mentioned on the preview show, David Lipsky gained a bunch with his irons last week. Couldn't make a putt to save his life. He ended up missing the cut. Aaron Rye gained off the tee and approach. Couldn't chip, couldn't putt, but he had been playing really well through the swing season. Yeah, I think he's like 200 to 1 or something like that. I think there's viable shots. I mean, Adam Long won this at 600 to 1. Who were some of the other guys? Like Landry won at 200 to 1.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I'm about to make, and it contradicts everything I spoke out of both sides of my mouth at the start. Like, I'm so afraid of Rahm, but this is despite his success here, this is probably not the event to start being afraid of that, because the situation this week is so conducive for these lower tier players to just get unconscious. And it really does minimize what makes Rahm great, other than obviously being great. And I mean, he's the best player in the world. There's no such, like, every course works for him. I don't need to explain him, but yeah, this is not the event maybe to fear Rahm for me. I don't think. Watch him win and win by 10, but
yeah, that's
probably going to do outrights, because if I'm betting Lucas Glover, probably like it protected. If I'm betting Molinari, probably like to invest in another part of it instead of asking him to win the whole thing. But this is not the week. Like, history has just shown us, you just read off the numbers. This place, the job squad can rise in La Quinta.
So you're going to bet Al Snow at the American Express?
I'm not betting Al Snow, but the job squad can rise here. Like, you've read it off. You've read it off.
The other guys I was looking at in this range, Grayson Sigg actually was one of them. At 150. I don't have bets on these guys. I have bets on the other guys. Woodland, Molinari, and Glover I'm in on. The other guys, KH Lee actually played pretty well last week, has played well here. Putnam has both played well at this course and the AT&T Oaks course in San Antonio. He's starting to get his mojo back a little bit. He is 150 to 1 on DraftKings, and he is 160 to 1 elsewhere. Maybe 200 to 1 at some other places. Aaron Rye, Hayden Buckley, Chad Ramey is over 200 to 1 now. Like, there are names from down here that aren't horrible. Yeah, Grayson's like 225 to 1. I think Hudson Swafford, who's won this event, 175 to 1. Like, he's been playing pretty well. So you could take some shots down the board here, as long as you don't invest too much at the top. Like, if you want to take Rahm and 3 guys from beyond 150 to 1, like, you could structure your card. If you wanted to bet John Rahm, or Cantlay for that matter, you could go Rahm, Woodland, Glover, Aaron Rye, and that could be your card. And that's the same as betting 5 guys from like 40 to 60 to 1.
Yeah, and of course you can do that. People were telling me, Pat, that I think this is insane, and I actually got it from more than a few people, so I'm gonna mention it. That they will bet their card and then they'll bet money on John Rahm to break them even on the week. I'd rather just lose my outright picks.
Yeah, but again, listen, I'm not tracking my bets. I'm losing. I'll tell you that much. Not last week. But for people who need to put up the facade of like, oh, I won this many units, I won that many units, like, they need to be able to not be in the hole. I frankly don't care. I'm going to listen. I do this for fun. I have a budget that I'm willing to lose. And you know what? Sometimes I lose it. Other times I win. Sometimes it's fine. So I'm not in the, listen, if you're a serious bettor, maybe that doesn't even seem all that logical to me because you're really killing your upside with a lot of this stuff. And if none of them win, you lose double your money.
Yeah. No, I don't agree with it at all. And as you sort of say that, it makes me think like I don't want to change. Like I bet, I have fun. I've sort of planned to lose a lot of money on golf, despite getting lucky and winning and it, then sort of helping things. I come into the golf season like prepared to lose money on golf,
Geoff.
So maybe I shouldn't change anything.
When you go 100% on your bets in football over a weekend, you care not about golf when you don't have a great week.
Few of you guys had huge weeks in the football.
Yeah. Now I didn't even touch the Monday nighter. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay away from this one. I don't want to start giving it back yet. I'll give it back to golf this week and see what the new board looks like on the weekend. But it was probably the best football betting week I've ever had. Somehow. Everything went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I even got bailed out in the Cincinnati game.
Yeah. It's fun when that happens. And not only that, like a lot of the game flows went as you projected them also, which actually makes you feel smart. Like you didn't just win the bet because of, this thing, them doing something you didn't think they could do. The way you projected the games to flow kind of actually worked out just that way. So credit to you.
Yeah. Eli Mitchell, get those correlated same game parlays on the go. I did want to ask you, because we'll talk about this on the football show. Oh, vote in the Custies, by the way. You can hit that down in the description. Forgot to mention that off the top. We got a lot of 2,000, 3,000 votes in already. You can vote once, go make your picks. You'll have a good laugh as we go through it. As you're reading them off, you're like, oh, I totally forgot that happened. And then you'll see why Cust curses everything. He even cursed poor Patrick Mahomes into throwing a pick in the Sunday night game. But in that Cincinnati game, the whistle play where he ended up catching the touchdown, they ended up counting it. I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for people who are like, oh, well, the play should have been dead. I acknowledge that per rule. But also the whistle shouldn't have blown in the first place, so it was just a complete clusterfuck, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have enough money on that one. Like, you just see people so tilted, and I'm sure people get entertained when I'm tilted because I'm invested heavily. But sometimes I watch the refs fuck up, Pat, and you're like, I'm more entertained by these like gamblers losing their money on the internet than I would be if we had good refs sometimes.
It's true. And yes, it should have been a dead play when the whistle was blown. But the whistle shouldn't have been blown in the first place because that was also wrong.
But then doesn't that impact the effort? Like you hear the whistle and
I don't know. I watched it a few times and it didn't seem like it actually. If like the whistle seemed to have blown like a split second before he caught it. Like the ball was well into the air and closer to the receiver than the quarterback by the time the whistle blew. Like, what are we doing?
There was just a cavalcade of bad. It's almost like we just wish we could have refs back to being like mediocre again. I don't know. It is what it is. Well, I guess we accept it. We watch it. We love it.
That's the whole thing. It makes it wildly entertaining. It's just when you're betting real money on it, it would suck to be on the wrong side of it. But
it's weird to think that their solution, like as a league, because people be like, why are you guys complaining? You watch every way, you'll watch every game. We're like sheep for the league, which is totally true. They could charge me to watch the games that they don't charge me to watch. I'd probably pay. Anyhow, I am one of those people. Like, I'm not going away because refs make bad calls. But I don't think that they see it like, why spend the money? Because it doesn't like change who watches. Like you could buy countries for what this league is worth. You think that they would want to find ways to have the best possible results or outcomes with reffing, but I don't know.
All right. Well, let's get into the quick picks for the American Express. I shall make that easy on everyone. I got 4 names that I have bet on so far. They are Christian Bezadenhout with an each way at 60-1. That's the top 5 each way. Woodland 100-1 with the top 5 each way. Molinari 175-1 with the top 5 each way. The Glove. Maybe the Glover lover this week, Geoff. 150-1 with the top 5 each way. And I'll probably go to Answer at the top of the board, but I'm not willing to make that commitment.
Gotta find that Glover 150. I've made 2 bets so far. I have bet Zalatoris at 55, and I've bet Bezadenhout at 60. I'm gonna be betting that Molinari and probably Molinari for sure. I'm looking at Glover, Hoagie, Woodland, Day. There's a train, and even all the guys I mentioned in that 60 to 1 range. Maybe even answer 33. But the only bets that I've actually made are Bezadenhout and Zalatoris. So I got to cut this list down, and I want to keep my exposure down because Rom is playing. Yeah, fun.
One and done picks for the week, as per our 3-man rule. Cust always gets to select first, but you beat me because your guy made the cut with Leishan, and my answer missed the cut last week. Cust is on the board with his one and done selection. Do you know who he is taking as his one and done this week?
I believe he told us he was taking Finau.
That is correct. He is taking Tony Finau. So it's on you.
And this would be a sneaky, not so much for us, but a sneaky strategy spot to get Rom potentially. You could argue he might not play in many weaker fields, and the paydays are the paydays. I am going to take, I think answer is going to be hyper popular. I'm going to take Henley.
I was going to say, but we're only doing a 3-man here. You can take answer. I've already used them.
Okay, fine. Give me Handsome Abe.
Like these picks have no bearing on what we're doing in the race for the Mayo Cup or anything.
I know,
like that.
but at least this early in the year, I like to keep it relative. But I'll just join the 40% who are going to pick answer this week.
I'm going to go to Sungjae in this spot, coming off being Tim's one and done. I'm going to go back. I feel like he's going to be the forgotten top end guy this week potentially, unless everyone just talks themselves into Sungjae. But I think it's a nice spot for him. I like this course for him.
I like every course for him.
There we are. All right, Geoff Fienberg at G Fienberg 17. When's your show with Rick coming out this week?
It should be out tonight, or I guess tomorrow. It'll be out on Tuesday. Me and Rick talking some golf. I think Andy Lack's having me on his pod this week, so I'll have to give him props for winning your contest this week. And yeah, I don't know. I'll be out and about. We'll be doing our show tomorrow, so lots of me.
Yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday with the spread picks. I'll be back with Ryan Noonan, your guy. He's on the DraftKings show tomorrow.
I like that. I'm pro Noonan.
On PME. And then I'm actually doing a show with Odds Checker as well, coming out on Friday mornings, I think. It's just NFL bets. Me, John, Matt, talking through all the games, trying to make some picks. So you guys can tune into Odds Checker US as well. I gave away a Peyton Manning autographed jersey. Apparently, they just have stuff to give away every single week. So it's worth tuning in just for that.
Lots of presents.
Yeah.
Lots of presents.
Listen, they're giving away more than we're giving away on this show. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, my article's out, newsletter, PME open, links down in the description. No rake, go play in it. That'll do it for me. Thank you all for watching. Smash the like on the way out. Rate and review the audio podcast, and I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!